What's up, guys? Got this little thing in the mail here. Let's see, what could this possibly be? YouTube. I think I've heard of that company. Ooh, this is they really know how to pack something in there. Okay.
Yay.
Bam. Is this for 100K subscribers? I believe so. Presented to Strength Side for passing 100K subscribers. Wow. What an honor. Well, guys, I just want to open this on camera because I want to say thank you to the 150,000 of you. Yeah, so we're about up to 150,000, so it took YouTube a while to get this out, but appreciate you guys. I remember when I had like 6,000 subscribers, and I was just making videos for nobody, basically. And if I'm honest, I remember logging out of my Strength Side account, going into my personal account, giving the video a like, just to give that video an extra like, try to bump it somewhere. And yeah, now it's crazy that a lot of people are watching my stuff and supporting, and yeah, it's pretty cool, man. So thanks to everybody who's been around since day one. Thanks for the guys that are just joining right now and everything, and just inspired to keep going. So I'm just gonna make this into a chain. Just put it as a necklace and just walk around like, yeah, I'm on YouTube, check me out, What's up, guys? Josh from Strength Side. This is episode 7 of the Strength Side podcast that you can find only on YouTube for now. In the visuals, we got some handstands, we got some mobility work going down, and I even wrote some notes on the screen to kind of tell you guys a little bit about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, all that good stuff.
This is just an average day for Josh.
It's an average day, and there we're hearing the voice of the lovely Chrissy Scannell.
Hi.
My girlfriend, and you guys maybe hear behind the camera sometimes laughing a little bit and whatnot. Mm-hmm. She is here, and we're going to stay on the theme of reaching 150,000 subscribers and all this good stuff. And the reason I wanted to have Chrissy on with me is because she actually owns some successful Pilates studios in the Bay Area of California. And so she's a business owner. She's doing very well. And she was recently featured in a magazine. And one of the quotes was it was a cool quote. It was quite entertaining to us, but she said something along the lines of, maybe you could tell us the
maybe
quote,
I can just
but I'll paraphrase what I remember from it. Was like, she said something about, it's not so crazy for us to think of something and then go do it. Was that close to what you said?
Those are some powerful words. Yeah, I said that because I think that there is this sensation of like feeling like you have to prepare a lot, and sometimes even over prepare. But at least with us, with Hurtcore, that's the name of my studios, Hurtcore. Go check us out if you're in the Bay Area, iHurtcore.com. But it was that we totally were not ready to open our studios, but we just had a lot of excitement. We had like a general idea of like our vision and what we wanted to accomplish, and then we just did it. And we opened within a month, actually. Within like when we get the lease, we did all the construction and we just went for it. But it's been a 5-year-long grind, and sometimes you got to start before you're ready. But yeah,
I like that because I think that we always have good little conversations because we're kind of doing similar things. I think that I definitely did that with Strength Side. I was didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know what I wanted to share, but I just started doing the YouTube stuff, you know? And I think for you, it was a lot larger commitment to start because you're opening up, like, you know, you're spending all this money to open up a Pilates studio. For me, it was much less intense, right? Like, not quite as much of a commitment, but it's the same thing. Just this sense of, like, you have to start. You have to just start doing it, and then you're going to suck at it. But eventually, you're going to get better. And eventually, if you keep at it and keep being consistent, then, like, I don't know, I feel like there's no way you could fail as long as you're kind of leading with your authenticity, kind of, you know?
Yeah, I think that the sucking part can feel like a long time, but being on the other side of it, like, once you've gained, like, that skill for whatever you're doing, like, for us, it was, like, running Pilates studios, but there's a point when you start to get really good at it, you know? And then there's a point when you really see the results of, like, all that time you put in, like the daily grind, and then usually I lost my train of thought. We're gonna edit this out.
No,
you're like, no, we're not.
Well, I think what you were saying, like, the main thing I heard is, like, you're like, there becomes a point in time, and I think, like, the biggest thing is just putting time into what you're doing. Like, you just can't cheat the time. You're not gonna, like, start the thing and be the greatest at it. Like, there has to be a time period where you're just accumulating experience and knowledge, and then honing your craft.
Honing the craft,
so to speak.
I mean, if you go through Josh's old YouTube, just, like, go deep in the archives, you're gonna see some interesting stuff. But I think it is,
and the Instagram,
and the Instagrams, and same thing for hardcores. And I think that it is, like, you feel this urge sometimes to kind of, like, oh, I don't want anyone to see when I really sucked, and, like, I remember for hardcore when we went through the Instagram, and then I just, like, archived every single post that was, like, slightly embarrassing. And I do realize, like, that is stupid, because I do think what feels inspirational, like, when I'm, like, watching your stuff, is seeing you and where you were, like, 3 years ago, 4 years ago versus where you're at now. And I do see, like, when you see that progress, because of course daily you don't really see that progress. It is just when you, like, look back after long periods of time.
I think that is super valuable. That's actually a lot of the messages I'll get from people on YouTube and Instagram, is they'll be like, hey, I saw an older video of you, like, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and, like, you've completely changed. Like, what have you done? And I'm like, well, watch my YouTube channel. This is what I'm doing.
That's what he's doing, yeah.
You know? But yeah, I think that is, like, super inspirational to see all that stuff when you started out. And to see, like, we all, you know, nobody just starts in the spotlight. Like, we all have to grind. And yeah, I think it's kind of cool to look back and see the stuff you're embarrassed of. You know what I mean?
Because you should feel very, like, proud of it.
Yeah, it's like, I personally get less and less embarrassed of it. Like, I think there's a time period where you're like, oh shit, I don't want anybody to see this. But now I'm just, like, laugh at it, and I'm like, yes, like, I've made so much progress. It's
Hell
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it feels really good.
Yeah.
Well, back to the original quote that we opened this with, which was technically, it wasn't so foreign to me to have an idea and then go for it. And I think, like, that was always something that was very embedded in me since I was a kid, which was to just create as often as possible, and that whenever you think of anything, just to go for it and create it. You know, the previous interpretation we were just talking about was just about, like, just starting and doing something, but this is a little bit more nuanced, which is about creating, and, like, I believe that that's part of the reason that we're here, or that's, like, a human right, is to create.
Yeah. Yeah, and earlier you said, like, creating versus consuming. And I think, like, the more passive the more passive way to be in the world right now is just to consume all the shit that's out there and all the shit that kind of like society wants us to consume in a sense. But I think that it takes more independence to say like, I'm going to create stuff for myself, right?
Yeah. And I mean that like in all ways of the term, like original thinking.
Yes.
And not just like listening to what someone says and then just parroting it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word. Parroting?
Parroting.
Maybe.
Yeah, let's say
being like a parrot. Because I think that especially with like Facebook and with Instagram, it's so the like algorithms, they just like show you what you already are interested in. So it creates this environment in which I think you can just take the back seat and really just let other things kind of control what you're doing, you know?
And you are put into a box essentially, and I think it takes a lot to get out of the box. It takes like you have to take action, you know, and you have to start to, like you said, like think for yourself a little bit more, and I think creating is one of the coolest ways to be like an independent thinker, you know, because like you're putting something out into the world that only you could do, and that's not there.
Hell yeah. Yeah, well, on that same topic, I think that we both kind of chose this path of starting our own businesses, and I think that is quite different than everyone else I was surrounded by at the time when I opened my business. And that was hard, you know.
Yeah, because Chrissy went to Stanford, and I was just saying earlier, like everything was kind of set up for her to go into the work field in Silicon Valley and do the 9-to-5 and this whole corporate life thing. But you chose to not do that.
I chose to not, and no shade to those that are. Of
course not, but
it was definitely hard to kind of do something that was so different. And at the time, opening a fitness studio in my like area, at my age, was nobody else was doing it, and so it felt really isolating, and it felt really like I would always question like, why am I doing this? But I did open it with my two sisters, Elisa and Valerie, and I think having that like tight support group of like three of us going in there and doing it together was what helped me just be like, I know this is weird, I know this is different from what everyone else is doing, but I have like my sisters and best friends by my side, so we can do it all together. Yeah,
for sure. And that's not to say that it's almost like we're saying that it was hard and it's not hard anymore, but it's it continues to be hard. It's not easy. It's like you have to kind of take the lead on everything, right? As opposed to just working for someone and taking a paycheck each week. But but it also allows us to live the lifestyle that we want to live and to dance around on camera a bunch like I'm doing now.
Just to go to the park and go wild.
To be wild and to have a lot more time to myself, or time to do the things that I want to do, I guess. Yeah. So in that aspect, it's rewarding.
So what we're trying to say is quit your job.
Oh, damn.
Nope, that's a joke. You got to pay them bills. And also for Josh and I, it was a gradual process. It wasn't like we all of a sudden just quit all of our responsibilities and went for it. It's a process.
It is a process, and we're at the end of this process. This has been a dope podcast. Thank you for joining me, Chrissy. If you guys enjoyed this, then she's around a lot, so we can have her back on. Chrissy, if anybody wants to know, like, what's up with you, what's up with Heartcore, it's just
head to Instagram. We're at _Heartcore, and my personal is Chrissy Corazon.
Cool. That means heart, right?
It does mean heart. Also, shout outs to myself, because I do all the graphics and all the stuff for Josh.
Oh my gosh.
And why did I want to bring that up?
Well, because you're like...
I'm gonna make this graphic that comes up on the screen right here.
She did this. She does all the design stuff behind Strength Side. So we appreciate it. And it's her birthday tomorrow. Yeah! Woo! All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to Strength Side. Check out the playlist of the podcast. And, as always...